Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new NSL live talk coming, and it's a special one. It's happening at Performance Designs, and in the marketing part of it, going deep into the facilities here to get to the place where we want to meet somebody who has worked here for a while. And it's not Karl Mayer. It's his working colleague here in this room, the marketing boss, I guess it is. Good morning, Al.
Hey Kurt, how's it going?
Good, good. You're busy there, huh? But
Yeah.
gonna take some time to chat a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Let's head over in the conference room and we can chat for a little bit.
Well, sounds good to me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we are where we wanted to be. It's the conference room, and here's Mr. Albert Berchtold, I would say in German. You call it differently, I guess. Berchtold.
Hey Kurt. Yeah, Berchtold. How are you doing?
Good, good. Good morning.
Awesome.
Thanks for taking the time. So we'll do procedure as usual. I'm going to move behind the camera. Then we will be able to distance ourselves enough to be without the masks and
Perfect
position. So goodbye everybody. Good morning everybody, and goodbye everybody. Don't run away. I'm gone. Okay. Here we go. I can ask questions from behind the camera. And you can tell us all those stories. And you were just looking at something when I came in a little earlier from an earlier story where we introduced you to the audience as the new USBA Executive Director.
Yes, I'll be starting in October for my work at USPA. I'll be here at PD until the beginning of September, and then I've got a few weeks to transition up to Virginia, and I'll be starting up there in October. I was reading the article on the NSL news page and also found a very old video from 2007 of Ed Scott doing the NSL news from Eloy, Arizona with Larry Hill when he had first taken over as executive director. So trying to learn some of what he did back then. Maybe I can pick up a few tips and tricks from him.
Small world, isn't it? That was his first nationals that he attended, and it was in his first year for USBA, and you are behind the camera there.
Yeah, that was back 2007 or 2008, I think, was when that was. And we that was the first year we did a collaboration with the PD blog and the NSL news, and it was kind of the advent of video. It was the beginning of video in skydiving, you know, not in skydiving, but having a newscast on the ground at nationals. We came up with the idea, I remember, and we said who better to do it with than Kurt Gable on the FS side. So it was a very stressful nationals. We had it was myself and Cola and Morton. We're all out there, Crystal, Isaiah, a bunch of us out there doing video. We had we had split ourselves into two groups. We were doing video during the day, and then Cola would sit up all night on her laptop and edit that video, because we of course didn't know what we were doing. So we were shooting, we'd hand her 12 hours worth of footage and tell her to go through and make a 3-minute video. The whole shoot to edit concept was not really around back then for us, so we didn't know what we didn't know. So it was fun though.
I watched the video yesterday that you found. Actually, I hadn't seen that. I haven't posted that yet, but I will follow up with that with Kola and Morton.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Funny stuff. It's even funnier to look at nowadays because, I mean, the quality was so bad, and us in front of camera was just pretty ridiculous. So
yeah.
It was entertaining to reminisce, though.
Yeah, we will bring that to the audience. So funny. So anyhow, now as the becoming executive director for USBA, the times of being a crazy skydiver are over. You have to be an honorable, serious administrator now, I guess it is.
Yeah, well, still a skydiver, but it's been a long road. You know, I'm still out there jumping every day, so it's just my life has changed over the years, and you know, when you gave me a call last week, we started thinking back on four-way stuff and where I started doing four-way, and it's been a long way. One of the first things when I announced that I was taking the position at USPA was Dave Grabowski said, well, you know, when you shot video for us, you know, 15 years ago, I never looked at you and said, one day that guy will be the USPA executive director. As I, you know, rolled off the couch at the drop zone where I'd slept shooting video because I was out at the bar late the night before. But it's been a long road and a fun one for sure, and it's crazy where life brings us.
Then the further you go back, the crazier it gets, and the further you come into the present, the more serious kind of, because you have already been the marketing manager for performance designs for a while, so wild and crazy doesn't really fit much into that position either.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 2 children now, so
right.
That's definitely matured me a little bit, changed the way I look at things.
And you just brought them to your future home in Virginia.
Yep. We moved Emily and the kids up to Virginia this past weekend, so they're all settled in up there. I'll be down here in Florida for about 3 more weeks, helping out with the transition at PD for when I depart, and then I'll move up there in the beginning of September.
We have history together too. We have jumped a lot together, and Al.
We have.
And I looked at the Taiwas, also the photos that we found. As a Taiwas member, we had quite some celebrities together with us. The Shannons and Pete Allen.
Yeah. Over the last 10 years, I mean, I remember I started doing around 2007, 2008, I started doing the FLCPA meets every year. And I remember there was one year where I ended up scheduling an FLCPA meet on the same weekend as Shamrock Showdown, and you called me up and said, do you want to do video? And I said, no, I'm sorry, I have a swoop meet that weekend. And you said something to the effect of, well, why would you put a swoop meet on the same weekend as Shamrock Showdown? That's ridiculous. And from that year on, I never put a swoop meet on the same weekend as Shamrock Showdown, because I always knew there'd be fun times to be had in DeLand doing Shamrock, and I did. I pretty much picked up a team every year and got a chance to jump with some pretty cool people over those years. You know, Shannon, Pete, different Golden Knights, a lot of different folks who are pretty awesome. And
you did some pretty awesome video too. That was always amazing to me, because I didn't see you so often actually out there filming teams. You were more or less a random guy, but your videos were totally reliable. I mean, it was a guarantee. I call Al and I know I'm gonna have good video, but there is a reason behind that, because for a while you were really training it.
Yeah, I did. I started out doing four-way video back around 2003, 2004, and I was a pretty young skydiver then, and I had less than 1,000 jumps, and I wanted to get more time under canopy, and I didn't have a whole lot of disposable income, and to me, doing four-way video was a way to get skydives and quite frankly not have to pay for them. So it was a pretty cool thing. You know, I went out and I spent all the money I had in my pocket buying an old Sony TRV 80 camera, and there was this big clunky thing on my head, and I strapped that on, and I ended up I did some stuff around the drop zone at Cross Keys, and I would ask four-way teams if they mind if I just kind of came along with them and learned, and I would, you know, cover my own slot and go try and learn how to do this four-way video stuff, and eventually the four-way scene up there was pretty big back then, Mid-Atlantic region, and there was a team that was coming together. It was the predecessor to Fallout, to Ranch Fallout. It was called Ranch Fusion. It was Dave Grabowski, Michelle Fonzo, John Griggs and Eugene. There was another gentleman on the team named Eric, and I think he broke his leg when Eugene came into the team. And it was a split team. It was split between Cross Keys and the ranch, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot with them, and you know, we would go up to the ranch. I had a trailer at Cross Keys, but I would stay at the ranch, and for those that were around back then, it was before the hangar was there. It was the Great Hall, this old rickety, beat up locker room type place, and everybody would pack out in front.
Couch.
And the couch, and everybody would come in. There were lockers inside, if I recall, and the team would show up in the morning, and they would be out in the packing area, stretching, getting ready, and I would come rolling out of the Great Hall where I'd slept on the couch the night before, because I didn't have a place to stay up there, and certainly couldn't afford a hotel room. So I slept on the couch. I hung out at the bonfire and drank beers, and then went and slept on the couch and got up, and you know, I'd roll out. And the first couple times the team would kind of look at me funny, going, you know, is he gonna be all right? Is he gonna make it? And eventually they learned that, you know, I kind of learned that my job was to be there on time and make sure the team didn't have to wait for me, and do what I was there to do. And I kind of carried that forward into doing more and more four-way up there, and then when I got down here, I picked up and started doing more of it as well.
Same thing with Taiwan. You know, the call to Al would not only mean I'm getting good video. I also would know he'll be there at the boarding area at the right time, ready to do it.
Yeah, a couple years there was. I did a bit with Solly back in 2009. He was training the Aussie national team, George Ater and Craig and those guys. They went out to Spaceland. They did like a week-long camp before U.S. Nationals, and Solly said, you know, do you want to come out and do video for a week? And I said, yeah, sure, you know. So I packed up my travel trailer and I drove out to Texas with Buddy, my little dog, who lived in the trailer with me at the time. And I did video for those guys for a week before Nationals. And then I did Nationals. I've done various teams through the years, and I did a team in 2011 with Start 4, which was a team. Gilles called me up. It was John Hart, Gilles, Greg, and Matt, and their videographer had went to Bridge Day the week, like 2 weeks before Nationals, and ended up getting injured. And they were freaking out, you know. It was the week before Nationals, and this was a 2-year trained team from Start Skydiving, and it was you know, they were bummed because this was their year, you know. They were going to push it at Nationals, and he called up and said, can you come do a team? And I said, sure. And it was out in Eloy. We went out to Eloy, and I'd never jumped with them before. I think I might have done 1 or 2 training jumps with them, and we went through Nationals, and we ended up in a jump off for the bronze medal that year. So it was kind of like it's everything you hope and pray for in four-way, you know, like the opportunity to be in a jump off, and here I was doing it with a team I had never jumped with before, but it was a really cool experience, you know.
Well, I'll do some fact checking later on, see if we find some more of
yeah. I mean,
stuff.
For the last 10 years, I feel like, I mean, I've come out and done pickup teams here and met a lot of really cool people and been involved with a lot of that stuff. It's been a lot of fun.
And then you changed direction a little bit. I mean, not that you gave up your forward, because, you know, again, just a call to Al and he would be out there, but you started the Florida Swooping League, which was kind of, you know, not a copy, but somehow a copy of the Florida Skydiving League, and then that brought you into canopy piloting much more than before.
Yeah, I kind of did. I took over the FLCPA from Chris Hayes around 07, 08, and that kind of became the driving force in my skydiving. So did a lot more CP than anything else, and
which
kept that
brought
going.
You here too eventually.
Yeah, I started here at PD in 2006. So around 2006, I think it was the end of 2006, I went I was bugging Chris Hayes, tapping him on the shoulder for the schedule for the next year's FLCPA meet, and I kept calling him and nagging him, and eventually he said, "I think you should write the schedule." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "I think you should take this over. I think you should do this now." And he had run his course. He had done it for a number of years, and he was tired. It takes a lot to, as you know, better than anyone else. It takes a lot to run a league and keep things going. And he had reached the point where he was ready to transition out of it, and he passed it along to me, and I ran it for about 12 years. And a couple years ago, I passed it on to Kurt and Jeannie Bartholomew to take over. So.
And now the next transition is happening right now. That's a long time for performance designs, but you have been called to higher duties and you're going into it in difficult times.
Yes, it's I've loved my time here at PD. It's been amazing. I've been here since 2006, so I guess it's about 14 years now I've worked at PD, and loved every minute of it. I enjoy getting up and coming to work every day, and tough decision to leave here.
NSL.
Tough decision to leave here, but the opportunity to do some really cool stuff for the sport and for skydiving at USPA showed its face, and felt that was my next calling. So, and it's definitely a difficult time to be taking those reins with the COVID stuff that's going on and changes going on with nationals this year.
Yeah, we have a brand new, fresh decision that was done yesterday. Today is Tuesday, August something. 18.
Yeah.
And yesterday, something heavily was decided.
Yes. So over I'd say the last 3 or 4 weeks, probably. Well, even farther back than that, the folks at Skydive City, Susan and Joni, have been tirelessly working for the last year or more to get everything ready for U.S. Nationals that was to occur in Skydive City, and they eventually, as this pandemic thing has been coming along, they've been preparing for it and getting ready, and they ultimately had to make a really difficult decision around the beginning of August, and that decision was that they were not going to be able to hold U.S. Nationals here at Skydive City. So that was tough. And then the board had to look at whether or not there was going to be a Nationals. Did it make sense to have the Nationals somewhere else? Would it be events would be split up? What would that all look like? So the board and the competition committee specifically started looking at options. They reached out to potential host drop zones and said, is anybody interested? Is anybody able to host any or all of the events in their state? Because obviously restrictions are different from state to state. So depending on what their protocols are and things like that. So the competition committee has worked tirelessly to try and figure out what options are out there, if any. And then ultimately yesterday, those potential options were brought to the table, the full board, yesterday.
And you're on the board too.
Correct. Currently
National
on the board.
Director.
Yep. Been on the board for about 7 years now. So we met yesterday. The board had a very long conversation where we looked at all of the different facts. We looked at all of the different opinions. We looked at the surveys that were done. We looked at the comments that were sent to USPA, the emails that were sent to USPA, member feedback, non-member feedback, competitor feedback from various different sources. And ultimately the decision that the board came to was that we would take a pass this year and not have a Nationals in 2020. So everybody is now shifted focus, and we're all looking to a great Nationals in 2021, which will be in Eloy, Arizona, and don't quote me, but I think it's October or November timeframe. I don't remember the exact dates of it. End of year. Yeah. And so it's been tough decisions to make for sure. Nobody wants to skip a nationals. There's a lot of folks that have trained really hard to do it, and U.S. Nationals, USPA Nationals is an amazing event that everybody loves to do. So the decision to pass on it this year was definitely a tough one for the board to make.
Well, at least it is consequent, I mean, that's it's extremely difficult, as you say, but it's consequent, as I cannot imagine a worse situation as having nationals this year, and then let's say Arizona Airspeed wins by far, and they're not going to the World Championship next year, so we will not have that. So that could be kind of a little controversy there, but that decision you made already earlier, that you will transfer the results of 2019 into the World Championship next year, so now nobody knew by then whether we would have USPA Nationals.
Yeah, that decision had to be made much earlier, because a lot of folks wanted to know, and since when the competition committee looked at that, and again, took a lot of input from a lot of different folks, a lot of members, a lot of competitors, members of the team, members of the U.S. team, as well as people who were not members of the U.S. team, in making that decision. And the decision that was made there was that since the event was not being skipped, it was being postponed. So the board felt it was best to keep our team in place, our U.S. team in place, and allow them the additional 12 months to train and be the best U.S. team they can be when they go to Russia in 2021, assuming that everything is able to move forward with that meet. In 2021, the team will head over to Russia and have an awesome showing, and hopefully bring back a bunch of gold medals.
Right, and now this kind of discrepancy, if you can call it, or whatever you may name it, that there could be a different nationals in between with different results is not there any longer. So that kind of makes it a little bit easier, to my understanding, to swallow the pill, which is a difficult pill anyway for everybody. As you said, not running the nationals is a. Has it ever happened?
It has. I'm pretty sure it has. There's been situations in the past, and don't ask me for the years, but I do remember hearing stories and looking at information earlier this year, actually, where there have been situations, and it comes down to timing of nationals and the World Cup or World Meet, because it varies every year. Sometimes our nationals is in the middle of the summer. Sometimes it's at the end of the year. Some events it's been held in the spring, and then the world level event, World Meet or World Cup, is the same way. Sometimes that's in July, August. Sometimes it's not till November, December. I mean, the Dubai stuff was in December, late November, December. Where if it's in Europe, it's usually July, August. If it's in Eloy, it's October, November. So it. From one year to the next, that can change drastically, and you can end up with our nationals. You can have a team that wins U.S. nationals, but then isn't going to the World Meet if it's within a 6 month.
Is there a time frame?
There is. It's no, it's not 6 months. It's 60 days.
Okay.
So it's the U.S. team is selected from the previous nationals, not within 60 days of the world level event. So as long as our nationals is at least 60 days prior to the World Meet, then that's the nationals that we'll select, even if it's the same year. But some of them have been pretty close in the past. There's been ones where we're literally counting days, and then it's even come up. Well, is it the beginning of the event, or is it the ending of the event? Is it the medal ceremony? Is it like some of them have come that close to where if you count the beginning of nationals, it's outside of 60 days. But if you count the end of nationals, because nationals is sometimes a 2 week long event, the end of nationals might only be 55 days or 50 days, where the beginning of nationals might be 60 or 65.
But has it ever happened that the USPA nationals were cancelled, didn't take place? Not in my career, as far as I can.
Not that I can think of.
That's like a 40-year time frame that I don't know.
If it's happened, it's pretty far back,
Yeah.
but I don't recall seeing any instance of that occurring. So we're definitely in unproven, uncharted territory here. But there's a lot of people in our sport who care a lot about what goes on. Members of the skydiving community, competitors, leaders in the skydiving community, the board of directors who are elected from the membership. They all care quite a bit. Everybody, it's a very diverse group, and this situation has just once again reminded me of how diverse that group is, because when we went to those meetings, there were varying opinions. Some people said just open up all the doors and let's have a nationals, everything's great, and other people said we should all be hiding in our rooms and not talking to anybody. And that's good, because if the board had looked at this and everybody went one direction, then it would be very lopsided. So it was really good to have varying opinions on the board as far as what they thought should be done, and ultimately that group comes together and ultimately does their best to make the best decision for the sport and for the organization and for all the members. So
you will eventually give up your board position, I guess, once you are executive director. So you're not really involved in those decisions any longer. You will just have to execute decisions that the board is making. Is that correct?
Yeah, so part of the bylaws of USPA state that you cannot be a staff member, you cannot serve on the staff of USPA as well as be on the board. So once I am, before I take my position officially and start working at USPA, I will have to resign my board position. So that will most likely be sometime next month in September. I'll resign that board seat. There will be someone new at that point elected into the treasurer position, which I currently hold, and there will be an election for a new board member. So there's a new national director. So there's a few different ways that the board can replace a director, and one would be to appoint someone. Basically, at a board meeting, they can have people who are interested come to the board meeting. They can speak to the board, and then the board all votes and says, I think Joe should be the next board member, or I think Mary should be the next board member, whoever came and expressed interest. The other way is to do an election, which is what's being done for the seat that I'll be vacating, which is there will be an online election done. It'll happen later this year. As of, I believe, August 1st, folks can now go online and submit their interest in that board seat that they would like to be listed on the ballot. So if you're interested in becoming a board member and getting involved, now would be the time to step up and put your name in the hat. And then later this year, there will be an election. So any USPA member will get an email. They will be able to go online, log in, and cast a vote for who they think should be the next board member who will fill that seat in the interim until the next election for the full board, which will be at the end of 2021.
So no matter what, whether being board director or executive director, this situation right now will keep you busy for a while anyway.
It will for sure. I won't be part of the board, but I'll be the executive director. So while I won't be one of the people in that room holding up my hand and voting and making decisions on the direction of the organization, I'll still be an integral part of taking those decisions and putting them into action. So it's a shift in what I'll be doing. Still be very involved, but definitely a different role within the organization.
And I have no doubt that one of your goals will be to continue the good work that Ed Scott has been doing. So you will probably gain from his experiences and knowledge and all that, and you will be in touch with him, I'm sure. But is there anything specific that you have in the back of your mind that you would add to it or change, or something that we don't really know about yet.
Well, Ed's done an amazing job. I mean, he's been on staff at USPA for many years. He's been the executive director for about 13 years, and I believe he was the government relations director for I believe 9 or 10 years before that. So he's had a very long career working for USPA, and he's done some amazing stuff. And he's taken the organization through some very, very difficult times. When I moved into the board and had long discussions with Lee, Doc Lee, on the financial history of the organization. I mean, there were times when USPA was near broke, and there were a lot of very smart people involved in our organization who helped bring USPA out of financial ruin and up to be a solvent organization that it is today. And Ed has done an amazing job in that area. He's done some great work. Area of government relations, he obviously spent a very long time doing government relations for USPA, and then when he moved into the executive director role, Randy moved into government relations, and those two are, in my opinion, the dynamic duo when it comes to working with the FAA and dealing with airport access issues and stuff like that. That's big shoes to fill right there. So but moving forward, it's a different time, and we will move on. The organization will move on. I will do my best to carry forward the great things he's done and trailblaze some new areas and make new great strides for USPA into the future. He definitely won't get away. I've got his cell phone number. I'm thinking about putting maybe a tracking device on his car or something, so in case he moves, I can still find him. But he's been great so far in offering his assistance and helping out with the transition as we move forward. So,
what about jumping? Can I still call you when I need you for? Said still.
I'm not sure if I'll be making my way down to Florida for any of the NSL meets to do pickup video. I would love to, maybe at some point,
Okay.
but maybe not every year.
I'll remember it. I will try at least. All right, Albert. Thank you. Time first of all to explain that we could go on for hours, but we don't want to bore our audience too much. This was very entertaining though and very informative.
Well, I certainly love chatting with you, Kurt, and I appreciate you coming by and having a talk with me, and it won't end. It won't end definitely when I move out of town. Look forward to more discussions with you, and always look forward to working with the NSL on things, and love what you do here for the sport and for four-way and keeping everything going. So keep rocking and keep skydiving.
Thank you. Good luck, Al.
Thank you.